Hello, everybody. I figured before I go to sleep that I'd say that I'm improving, something like that. I'm still writing ever since I was a kid, even though I only ever published like one thing, but I honestly feel like I am responsible and it is my part of my massive duty to work for free because I believe it could bring great change to this world. It could help us in the long term with stuff like, saving the world and saving lives and stuff without a cost. Maybe one day we won't have to buy anything. And doing a lot of, thinking. I do that a lot, and I'm like super raw. I'm definitely a mutant though. When I look at my stuff, I feel like I'm like in the X-Men universe somewhere. But I don't want to make this a long video. So before I say goodnight, I think I'm going to turn this Facebook into a blog of some kind. And occasionally do something, big on it. I'm interested in acting again. But I gotta be honest, I'm not as interested in acting as I am of writing. I enjoy writing when I say that, I feel like it's like I could, you know, enjoy acting more too, but I just write and write constantly. I like how I had my mohawk and I shaved it off again. I am bald by choice. I think the first time I heard that was when Dwayne Johnson said that. It's funny. I like it. But I also like this being raw and not being like super fancy or anything, because I feel like it could give you a different insight on someone, even if it is a first time thing. And leaving my videos, even though I go look at them and I see problems and they're funny. I look at them and I laugh at myself, and I'm like, wow. But I think that's good though, because I leave them and for learning as well. And there's so many things I haven't shared, and I want to, but I feel like I gotta figure out things first. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy when my writing gets noticed. It's even the little things like I wrote today. Uh, well, I wrote a lot today, but what I shared on Instagram for everyone to see, for example, I felt like got noticed, even though maybe, 3 people at the time saw it, but I was like, I felt really good. And I feel like there's a lot of surprises coming. Like, I feel like this is the world needs, well, society needs help too, and then the world needs help. I do believe in global warming, so, and and I do believe we are, like, or, humans have caused it, unfortunately, play a part in it, but I also believe we could leave the hell behind that is going on, unfortunately, but I I am a very strong believer in a world where money is not a necessity. Like, I grew up with sayings, and then as an adult, I started learning that a lot of the sayings we grew up with are completely questionable. It's like we're educated on certain things, and that kind of divide us and all sorts of stuff. And it's finding how do you break those walls too, um, but being safe about it as well. Because I mean, I believe this is that in this very, you know, much, and I don't want people to think it as a negative, but because I've had that before, but money, you know, is as valuable as we make it. And I get the question a lot, like, how could we live without it? But then again, I sit there and think, you know, and I for years, I had trouble answering that question. But I felt like I knew it, but I just didn't know how to say it. And I feel like I'm getting better at, you know, to getting the answer for this. And um, if we did things out of the kindness of our hearts, and I believe that people would, and we live in a time where we have great numbers of people caring in this world. I mean, there are lots of loving and caring people in this world. Not everybody's bad, and I believe we are, you know, in a very good position to change the world for the better. And I believe things like healthcare and all that stuff shouldn't cost a thing. I also believe that food shouldn't cost a thing. And, you know, when you look at people run into stores and they buy things, money creates an unbalance. And then, like, people for years, I was like, it's how you manage and balance things. But I'm like, wait a second. Like, wait a second. That's not a balance. That's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like looking in that. But, and imagine a world where we, you know, out of the heart, you know, manage the resources without the need of money. I just want people to just suspend their belief for one moment here. That imagine a world without it, and it not being the bad that some of us have grown up being educated that it would be, and thinking what we would do. Because I noticed for me that it can stop me from doing things, and I let that happen too, partly because you know, because I'm not perfect, but I believe that it is very important to do stuff for free. And I'm coming more and more to realize that I may not be able to completely do it yet, to live entirely without money yet, but one day I will be able to, you know? And I believe that, and I absolutely do, and I'm getting closer, but I have to do it, even if it's slowly. I have to, you know, prove, also be an example, become that example where you don't need money to succeed or do good things in this world, or to even follow your dreams. Like, no matter what you want to do, I believe you should be able to do it. I mean, as long as it's not hurting anybody, but right? I mean, but we look at all this stuff, and why does a movie need to be financially successful to get a sequel? It doesn't. I mean, I think that one of the biggest myths is that, you know, money is, like I said, a necessity, but it's like we put the value and worth into things, and I would love to do that stuff, and I will do it for free, because I believe I could, you know, do it for free. There's a way. There's got to be a way. And writing, and you know, acting every now and then. Um, yeah. also like that, where I look back at it and I'm kind of like a ghostwriter. In a way, yes, I am. I feel like I've helped out with, you know, I call it motivating sometimes, but, giving out ideas, even if they're little ones, like one today or was it yesterday now, but, you know, it's 28th, it was. I sent, uh, uh, a message saying, what if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had basically an Iron Man uh, tribute, and I was thinking, even the small things, I was thinking, what if, Nebula teaches the new Gamora, you know, how to play paper football and explain, where she learned it from. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long thing. It's just a short little thing that I thought would be a really neat Easter egg inside. That would also be heart towards Iron Man, of course. But um, I would also like to see, like, you know Thor, like, I pass down the hammer to, like, uh, Jane, Natalie Portman, because I think that is very important. Like, also passing down, but I also want to see them all return one day. All of them return, but at Easter eggs at first. You know, take your time, and then you know, give these new guys that came in and build on them. And dude, I believe we're gonna be amazed with Doctor Strange, though, and I just gotta say, because the importance of the multiverse that is tied to him, and he's not the only character though. There's other characters in the comics that are very much tied into leaving and entering the multiverse. Um, and Sony owns one of them too. And like, I'm not talking Spider-Man. I'm talking something that would be interesting to see on screen. Um, so I mean, Spider-Man is interesting, obviously, but I'm thinking of a different character in the Spider-Verse. Um, yeah, I could talk forever, I guess, and I feel like I probably shouldn't. And I'm not gonna edit this either. Nope, I'm gonna keep it raw. Maybe put a filter on it, but that's it. If I do that, I don't know yet. Yeah, I rewatched Avengers Endgame today. I'm like a massive fan. I look back and I'm like, what I write, and then I love it when what I write ends up becoming true. When it passes on and people take what I've written and apply it. Like, I remember saying before Avengers Infinity War, even, and writing it online, I've written a lot of things that never ever got considered or ever made it. But I looked at one of these things and it was like the opening scene. I felt in deep down that the opening scene of Endgame was going to be Hawkeye's family disappearing. And I was like, you know what? I was right. I was like, I saw that. And, and I don't know if they took my idea or whatever. I like to think that they did because I put it out there, but, nah, I think, great minds think universally. I actually believe our minds are connected somehow to the universe. So everything we do, and stuff, and there's a balance, or try to. Well, we don't all have a balance. There's some disturbances like going on right now, and my battery's at 10%. So yeah, thanks for that notification. to And then I just came across The Mandalorian season 2. There's so many ideas I have though, and imagine if we made a multiverse out of something else. And Marvel is great, and they're the first people to do this cinematically, right? I mean, the first real cinematic universe, if I recall, is actually the Dark Universe, so which I'm a fan of that too. But imagine if we created I was sitting here writing something about curses and stuff, and also magic and spells, and how they're quite similar to languages and the influences of what we let in our lives. And I was like, what if I turned this into a really good sci-fi fantasy, mix it somehow with sci-fi even, and have it so in the world where it's with us, but not, we don't necessarily always recognize it, and explain that, and have it take other things and create it and have it come into the world. In this idea, kind of reminds me of Happy Madison movies, though. And even though this is a full-fledged sci-fi fantasy, it's also a comedy, I'd say, at times, and in big times. And I was like, what if we took actors and that we already know, right, and put them into a world, and started to explain why, slowly explain why they were this character, and then they wake up, where they realize that everything around them is connected universally to the creators, and all this stuff, and it's and they realize, wait a second, that's not my name. And I'm like, that's actually funny too. I was like, because that could be a comedy. Right now, I call it a useful curse. I don't know. I chose a useful curse. Take something bad and figure out how do you make something bad a good thing, and improve upon it. But that's just a code name. But yeah, it's interesting because I even saw doing something with Marvel on it, maybe throwing an Easter egg in there, the Deadpool bar or something, and or having little things like that leak in. Or I even had an idea to bring Step Brothers. Oh, dude, there's this scene that I came up with I thought was funny. And then there's a lot of scenes involving a apartment complex that's tied directly to one of the stray streams of the multiverse. And I'm like, well, that would be weird to be right there, and your apartment complex is involved in that. I was sitting here thinking, and people be like, what the? Some people. And I saw Kevin Hart here for some reason, as a new tenant. It's even I saw different people in this involved, and see freaking Happy Madison characters in this, having all these cameos that reflect on real life things that they have created, branching out into that universe, coming in. And, when I started this, this particular project, I was thinking of actual, like I said, like the actors that we know, and putting them into this world, but with different names, with different characters, and starting it off, without it being a complete multiverse film. So it would go leak in to a sequel. That would make a sequel even more interesting. So you could do two movies, at least, and even add to it if you wanted to, and but having a reveal, because eventually they would come to be like, wait a moment, you know. I mean, I even saw like Steve Carell in real like having kind of like Minions vibe in but in real life, like a verse with that, and I'm like cameo, and I see all this stuff like what if we did a whole world like that, and we started off where they didn't acknowledge, they didn't know that they were famous or anything like that, and they didn't know that they had a different name in another verse. They were just and then they come out and they're like in the sequel, or towards the end of the first, and then the sequel big time, and they just and it could be interesting, and then they were like, wait a second, kind of hits them, and they see their other verse, and they starts coming in that stray stream, because I studied these films, right, the Avengers and stuff, and I feel like the stream breaks loose even if you return that. Don't you make another verse disappear? And I'm like, where does that disappeared verse go? So, okay, you just fixed it, but you just also somehow took that verse and made it disappear, and took what you wanted from that verse into your reality, the one that you wanted it to be. And I'm like, dude, Doctor Strange is going to be interesting, because even if it's fixed, Multiverse of Madness, there's, the strays are fixed. Are the strays still there? Even if you bring them back, like in a disappearance, but in like a super dimensional way, like dimensions layered in the multiverse and why it could collapse. Like, wait a second, you thought you could come over here and then, and split all these multiverses and then just end those verses like they never happened, and brought them over back into one what you wanted? Wait a moment, something doesn't add up there. It's like that part. So there's something secret there coming big time, I feel like. Um, and I believe the creative geniuses are gonna write you guys something really nice. Uh, I would like to write a Marvel movie one day, at least one or two. Um, and I would also like to be a mutant. I'd love to star as some kind of mutant. Um, but I was doing some reading also about something that caught my interest, and that was a spin-off to the New Mutants. I actually really enjoyed that film, and I would love to branch off something with that, at least something. But I think it needs a sequel, and then branch off from that sequel, and that sequel would be, or that spin-off would be, the spin-off would be the Fallen Angels, because there's so many interesting characters. Just Google Marvel's Fallen Angels and just see the characters that are involved in that. That's a very interesting group of characters right there, I think, and I would love to help bring that one day. I'm already over 24 minutes in. So, see me clicking my fingers. Yeah. I think I might, eat an edible, crash for a bed. I don't know yet. Um, Hope everyone has a great day or a great night, morning. I'm at 5% battery life, so I am gonna have to put this on. But yeah, this is gonna be very interesting and good start towards something, I believe. And the universe is so very important and connected to who we are. Probably stuff like that. Okay. How do you say goodbye? Wink? Makes it look like it, doesn't it? It would be bad with like gauges in my ears. Alright.